Welcome everyone to the last Accelerating Black Leadership and Entrepreneurship information session for the 2024 cohort. I want to go ahead and hopefully, yes, welcome you all. So you can do that by name yourself in the chat. I know it says country. We know that you're from the States. Drop how you're feeling in the chat. You can use an emoji, but you can identify yourself. You can say your name, your industry, your sector, anything that you like about people, for people to know about you in the chat as we begin, as we get ready to get started. I want to get an early jump on things, if you will, so that we will have a lot of time to answer questions. So we're just going to jump right into the agenda so that you can know what exactly we're going to talk about today. So we'll start with welcome and introductions, so you get a chance to learn about like who you'll be dealing with. I'll introduce myself, of course. We'll talk about ADN, African Diaspora Network, as well as the SVEC, which is our academic partner, and their mission. So you learn about both of our missions. We'll talk about the ABLE program. We'll go through a curriculum overview. We'll go over the timeline, and then we'll talk about some benefits. And then I've also added like a new component, which really goes over what the portal looks like. That's important because there was some confusion in the past around people being able to submit their application or complete their application. And there's apparently a difference, of course, so we want to make sure that there's no confusion at all. And then we're going to talk about program engagement. But then I would say the most fruitful part of our time today is that you get an opportunity to ask questions. What is it that you may want to know about your business, specifically a general question about the process, any of those things. So we're going to not plow through it, but we're going to be very efficient with our time today so that we can give you plenty of opportunity to get those questions answered. So without further ado, I'm going to start before we get into ADN with a brief introduction of myself. I know that there are some team members on the call that I don't see, but I will make sure that I get to and acknowledge them before our time is out today. But my name is Brett Cave. I'm the Entrepreneurship Programs Manager for African Diaspora Network. Who you may not see today is Almaz Nagash, who is our CEO and founder of ADN. And so without her, of course, we would not be here. We also have, I believe, Ani, if you can introduce yourself. Coming off mute. The infamous Ani.
Sorry. So my name is Ani Ake. I am the Community and Partnership Manager. So I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. We're so excited. It's great to see that so many people are taking information back, and there's quite a few people that I see that I know that's on here. Hi, Ngozi. But thank you all for joining us, because this creates an opportunity not just for you to learn, but we would appreciate for you to share this back into your communities. So I am here, I am taking pictures, and we hope that you have lots of questions, and I look forward to assisting you in any way that I can. Thanks, Brett. Turning it back over to you.
Thank you so much. And before I complete our introductions, I would be remiss if I did not share the floor with our illustrious academic partner, Ms. Kathy Nagamine, who is from Santa Clara University, Silicon Valley Executive Center, who I'm going to pass it over for her introduction right now. Actually, let me stop sharing so we can see these faces. What am I doing here? And I did not, okay, wonderful. And there's another person that I want to introduce after Kathy.
Wow, Brett, thank you so much. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. My name is Kathy Nagamine. I come from 30 years in high tech, and I recently changed into the higher education portion. So as Brett mentioned, I work for Santa Clara University within the Silicon Valley Executive Center, and we are a partner of ABLES and ADN, and I look forward to working with you all. If you have any questions, I am always available here. Thank you.
Thank you. And so last but not least, so I mentioned Almaz and then I mentioned Ani, but then of course, because my screen was up, I did not see the lovely Omalayo Udo, who is our Director of Programs and Operations. So I'm going to give her an opportunity to say hello and welcome, and then we'll jump back into our deck.
Thank you so much, Brett. And thank you so much, everyone. I wish I was wherever Kathy's background is. That's where I wish I was today, but so happy to be here with you all on this amazing information session. I thank you all for taking the time to join us today. And I'm looking forward to all of you learning more about our Accelerating Black Leadership and Entrepreneurship program, and looking forward to supporting in any way I can. So yes, thank you all so much for being here and looking forward to a great session. Thank you, Brett and Kathy.
Awesome. Thank you all. So as I mentioned, I don't know, I guess we can do our screenshot with our smiles a little bit later, but I am going to jump back into the deck and we can get started in just a second with About ADN. Can you all see my screen? If you're nodding, I can't see you, so I need an audible yes.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Awesome. All right. So, just a little bit about ADN. We're founded in 2010 as a Silicon Valley based nonprofit that promotes entrepreneurship and economic development, which you see. So, I mean, ultimately, the vision is bringing together Africans on the continent and the diaspora and Friends of Africa to actualize their full potential. ABLE is one of those programs that allow for us to fulfill this mission. So, that's why we're here today, though there is another program that kind of mirrors this called Builders of Africa's Future. ABLE is the United States version of the Builders of Africa's Future program. So this is a part of, I would say, one of our strategic pillars, if you will, in terms of how we go about doing the work that we're doing programmatically. And so what does it look like in terms of our initiatives? And I can kick it over to Omalayo if you would like to kind of spare my voice, which you automatically hear is kind of struggling. But if you don't like, I'll take it over, Omalayo.
I don't mind. Let me spare your voice.
Thank you
You can
so
go
much.
grab water if you want,
Okay, thank you.
or tea, or all the ginger. Thank you so much, Brett. So yes, so happy to introduce the suite of programs that ADN runs. So we run we run two core accelerator programs, the Builders of Africa's Future, which is similar to the ABLE program, but it is specifically for entrepreneurs based on the continent. And we have entrepreneurs across all of Africa. I think we have like 7 or 8 different countries represented this year. We have a cohort that just started about a month ago. A really diverse group of people, and they get a chance to go through an accelerator program. And at the end, they have a pitch day and are eligible for grant funding from USADF. And so that's our Builders of Africa's Future program. And then there's another program that feeds into it that's specifically for Catholic sisters called the Start Your Social Enterprise program. And so this program is for Catholic sisters who are doing initiatives in their communities, and we teach them how to turn that initiative into a social enterprise. And then those who successfully complete the program, they are able to they are then eligible to apply for BAF. And then the program that you all are here today to learn about is quite similar to the Builders of Africa's Future program, which is the Accelerating Black Leadership and Entrepreneurship program. So I won't go into that too much right now because that's what we're here to learn about over the next hour. And so those are our entrepreneurship programs. We also have a more recent program to our suite, which is the Young African Leaders Initiative Legacy Localization Project. So some people might be familiar with YALI, which is a Obama era education initiative started in, I believe, 2014 or so. But now the US government is looking to turn YALI into a African-owned, African-managed, African-run entity. And there are a consortium of partners led by the Arizona State University who are working on building a legacy, on supporting those who have already worked on YALI to legacy and localize the initiative. And so ADN is one of the partners on that project, helping with the diaspora engagement strategy. And then another, so that's one of our more recent projects. And then we also hold convenings. So 2 convenings that we hold are our Impact and Innovation Forums. So the Impact and Innovation Forums are a series of online, hybrid, and virtual and in-person events that we hold throughout the year. Just a week or 2 ago, we actually held an Africa Day conversation, which looked to bring together academic and educational institutions to talk about innovation and entrepreneurship and how the diaspora supports entrepreneurship and innovation back on the continent, and the role of educational institutions in that process. And so that was a really lively discussion between a professor at Spelman, a professor at CMU Africa, and an educator at Rice. And so not Rice University, but their program is called Rice, which is for entrepreneurs in Atlanta. So it was a very engaging discussion, and we have discussions like that throughout the year on different things that are of interest to our audience. And then finally, we have our African Diaspora and Investment Symposium, which is our flagship convening series. And we have that annually. So we had that in the beautiful Santa Clara. Oh, yeah, I was like, my geography in the Silicon Valley area. We had the Addis there in March, and then our next year's Addis is actually going to be in Washington, D.C. for the first time, or kind of taking it back to DC as well, because the idea initially came from DC, and that's going to be our 10-year anniversary. So please consider this your invitation to join us at Addis next year. But actually, ABLE grads are often invited to be our guests at Addis. So another reason to join ABLE will be the opportunity to attend Addis as an alumni. So I'm going to pause there as as the introduction to our different programs and convenings, and I'll give the floor back to Brett, if that's okay.
Thank you so much, Omalayo. I really appreciate that. You did a phenomenal job. And so I'm going to kick it over to the Silicon Valley Executive Center, where Kathy can explain more about what's going on over there. And if questions come up, feel free to go ahead and drop them in the chat or in the Q&A, and we'll make sure to address them when we get to that portion of our program today. Go ahead, Ms. Kathy.
Thank you very much. So as I mentioned, I am part of the Silicon Valley Executive Center. We are in the heart of Silicon Valley. It's a phenomenal university that, again, I just started at. And we have such amazing impacts. There we go. Impact-based, we have custom programs. We have a huge commitment to justice. And we, again, are right in the middle of Silicon Valley. So we have a lot of entrepreneurship programs within the university. We have a huge DEI initiative. We have the DCGI, which is the Diversity in Corporate Governance Institute. We have our largest program, which is called the BCBR, our Black Corporate Board Readiness Program, which I'm humbled by this group of people, to be honest. And we have, of course, ABLE, the Accelerating the Black Leadership and Entrepreneurship Program. Go to the next slide.
Thank you, Ms. Kathy.
Thank you.
So one of the reasons in terms of why we're doing this work is because there is a need. And so what you'll find is that there's systemic barriers for Black entrepreneurs. Like if you notice that only 1% of Black startups receive 1% of VC funding, and even more so that gap is increased as it relates to Black women. So even in that 1%, they receive less than the 1% in terms of Black women entrepreneurs of that funding. So ABLE is really a solution to close that opportunity gap. So to create opportunities where those gaps exist. So really in terms of what that program is, as you've heard before, you're hearing ABLE, Accelerating Black Leadership and Entrepreneurship, that's the acronym for it, is really this accelerator program designed to strengthen and energize and really support you through a mentoring process with human capital like your peers through this wonderful 5-week program that's supported by Silicon Valley Executive Center. And so like-minded entrepreneurs are a part of this process, which takes us to the curriculum overview that I mentioned. So what you'll get a chance to learn more about is, of course, is the mentorship aspects, which I'll talk about. But right now, I'm going to give it back to, I guess, Ms. Kathy to just really kind of go over what you're seeing as it relates to those 5 weeks in the curriculum portion of the program.
Oh boy, let me give this one a try because normally it's Gloria presenting this. So we have a 5-week session with ABLE. The first week is the business model canvas. So we do a value proposition, we go into the impact model, and then we also go into a go-to-market strategy. So these are all the classes that we teach everybody on, is the first section. And the second section is, of course, how I feel like very important, finance and funding. So how we get finance for all you entrepreneurs and what a great VC strategy is and how to build your ecosystem. And we also get points of views from a VC or PE investor viewpoint. The third week goes into leading teams and internal dynamics. And so we want to also get feedback from experiences of other Black founders, Black entrepreneurs. Another important key to this is legal considerations for the venture development. We want to make sure that it is legal, that you're following all the rules, etc. And what I find the most interesting is the last one, week 5, which is the pitch session. So we teach a pitch session on your program, and we give you some advice and feedback. It's an incredible opportunity to be part of, and I find it so amazing, incredible, all the amazing entrepreneurs and what they have to pitch for this day. So it's a really incredible opportunity.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much for that, Kathy.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I want to add to that is that for the pitch session, this part is in person, and it's not just that day. So you're not just flying in, trying to get settled and then going to pitch. No, there's an actual in person. Your last session occurs in person the day before your pitch, and where you have a pitch practice. So that's one of the things that you should kind of keep in mind, that though we're asking for a time commitment of about 5 weeks, 5 weeks long, that's going to be largely virtual. There will be at least 2 days, and I'm saying at least because it could be longer, depending upon what your flight situation is. But we're looking for at least 2 days of in-person time commitment as well. So just to piggyback off of that curriculum overview, just wanted to give you a high-level overview of the timeline. So where we are right now is in this part of the application process. So once those applications are in at the end of the month, then the vetting process begins. And so by August, those program acceptance offers will be confirmed. So for those people that are offered an opportunity to participate, there is a process by which you have to confirm to secure your spot. And then September, the formal announcement is made to the world, if you will. So your name goes and your face goes on the website, press releases go out, like it's a really big deal. And then by October 17th, that in-person pitch session takes place. But as I mentioned, on October 16th, you have to be available and prepared to participate in both the pitch practice and your final in-person learning session. So I just wanted to make sure that we were clear about that. So as I move forward, what are some of the benefits or the opportunities about why people should apply? And if you've applied before, it's like, okay, well, why am I doing this again? Like, what is the point? So really the wealth of the program is not just the program itself. It's who you'll have access to and the benefits that come thereafter. So outside of this pitch session that we talked about, it's a fully paid opportunity training. You'll find that there are other accelerator programs out there, but it's going to cost you. You have to pay them for their time. But we're saying, hey, we want to create an opportunity for you. All you have to give us is your commitment and your energy and your time. There is a modest financial award. So upon completion, I know that some, I think the inaugural cohort may have received $6,000 up to $10,000. So each year it kind of fluctuates in terms of what that award looks like. But there is, a modest stipend that you will get in terms of upon completing the program. And then you have the opportunity to participate in exclusive networking building sessions. One of the benefits is being able to have access or rub elbows with CEOs really successful organizations and kind of pick their brain to figure out like, okay, well, what did you do? So last year, I want to say Renee Lacerte, of the CEO of Bill, who's one of our funders, was able to do kind of like a Q&A session with the cohort, and they got an opportunity to ask questions, about his particular journey. That's valuable information that you're getting just available to you as a participant of the program. And then you'll get a chance to connect with venture capitalists, angel investors, the ADIS symposium, the African Diaspora Investment Symposium, which we now know is in Washington, D.C. So all of these things are benefits of the program that you would have an opportunity to experience as a participant and thereby alumni when you complete it. So as I mentioned, in terms of ongoing support, one of the things that you should also know about, as I mentioned, these network building forums, which I just talked about, the training curriculum. So that means that these VC folks that will be your mentors, which I'll get to in a second, there are folks that are reaching out to us saying, hey, I'm from XYZ company that's been established for 50, 11 years, and I want to help Black entrepreneurs be successful. Like, where does that happen? It happens at ABLE. So you'll now have an opportunity to connect with those people through the mentor relationship, and also some of the resource building forums, through Addis, through just being a part of the ADN network as an ABLE alumni. So that kind of network access is really invaluable, and not to mention the network and net worth that comes through the learnings that you'll gather through SVEC. So when you put all of those pieces together, it's a really, really dynamic program that can scale your business and really just, in some cases, like catapult people's businesses from where they are now to multi-million-dollar corporations. I would say our inaugural cohort member, Crystal, can't remember Crystal's last name right now, but her company is We Solar. You can check it out. She was one of the first African-American female entrepreneurs in the solar space, especially out of Baltimore. So creating solutions there. And part of her connections and getting the contract, I think that she got, there was a multi-million-dollar contract, came through her relationship, or some of the opportunities came through the relationship with her mentor. We have some notables. I want to say Jarrett Wilson of ABCD and Company was just featured on BizBash's 40 Under 40 for his work. So there are tons of folks that are like doing the thing, if you will, that are ABLE alumni. And I think that you would love to have an opportunity to get to know them, because there may be some synergy for your business as well. So, and last but not least, which we already talked about, which is the ABLE program graduation and pitch session, which gives you the opportunity to share your idea in front of those angel investors, VC investors. So just a diverse room of people that have different, I would say, investment ideas or investment strategies, and one of their answers or solutions to their questions or problem could be your business. So, but you get to be in a room or a virtual room with them through this program. So just as a recap, what are we talking about today? The program started, the applications were open in May. The pitch session, you have to be in person for the 16th and the 17th. And this year, we are looking for about 20 people, I think 20 to 25 people. And so the cutoff is June 21st. So you still have plenty of time. And so let's get into this, eligibility criteria. What do you need to be successful? And then go through that platform so that we can get you to the Q&A. All right, so what makes a successful, or at least an eligible applicant? We're looking for someone who is an executive or a key team member of a for-profit startup. Even though our inaugural cohort featured nonprofits, at this point forward, we are looking for-profit startups. Your company must be co-led or led by a Black entrepreneur. Now, you can be like, oh, well, I'm from Namibia. Does that count? Yes, you are considered Black over here, because I guess if you walk out the street, nobody knows that you're from Namibia. So you be considered a Black entrepreneur. So also, your current company should be early stage. What does that mean? There's more specific information on the website about what we're considering early stage and what seed to Series A means. So that information is detailed, but I will say we're looking at revenue generation at least 50K. Have you generated at least that much? Early stage meaning that you haven't been in business for 20 years and you're now applying. You're not so early anymore after that amount of time. So, and then you're headquartered, you must be headquartered in the US. So we want to make sure that you are based in the United States. So if you are in Canada, we might, make an allowance. Okay. If you are in the Americas, we might make an allowance, but we're really focusing on those US based entrepreneurs. Now, primary selection, we're looking for early traction. This is when we're getting into some of the numbers and where it gets to be a little bit more competitive. So you show us. So at this point, I want you to put on your storytelling hat. How much information can you give us to show us why your business is so phenomenal and so impactful that there's no way that we can say no? So you want to show us about how much money you're making, and if you're not making the kind of money that you think that you should make right now, what is the plan? How are you planning to get from where you are now to point B or point C? What is your plan? What do you have in place? What contracts are, in progress? What relationships, what discussions are you having? But sometimes things take a minute to materialize. You might be going through an accelerator program with Target and you're at the final end. And so it's going to take a minute before your product hits the shelf, but that's where we are. I don't know, but it's up to you to tell us so that we know how best to support you, and saying, absolutely, we want to make sure that this entrepreneur gets our support and that they're successful by being a part of the program. So you also want to show us your potential for financial sustainability and investment. You want to give us all of the right numbers, and please make sure they match. Don't tell us, because there's a couple of places that we're asking about numbers, and this is not to trick you. One is like for eligibility kind of screening. The other one gives you an opportunity to be more detailed. And then any other places outside of that, that's really you kind of telling the story. But wherever you're putting that information, please, 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 fingers crossed and all of those things, please make sure that those numbers match. I've seen stellar applications not make it because of that one discrepancy. Like, it was beautiful, and then when we started talking to the numbers, it was like, wait a minute, I don't understand. And so at that point, the reviewers are like, we don't know. And so we're not going to reach out to like get clarity. So that means it's a no. So please don't put people in the position to have questions about your business. Make it really, really clear. You want to tell your story if you can. So remember, we're putting our storyteller hats on. We want to demonstrate these your ideas through quantifiable and impact market reach kinds of information. So you want to make sure that you have dedicated time to the program as well. So those are things that are going to be important in having a successful application. So now that we're getting into the platform in terms of what this looks like, this is what you're going to see. When you're applying, you want to make sure that you're applying to the right one: Accelerating Black Leadership and Entrepreneurship, Cohort 4. And then it's going to say, so mine will say, you'll see that I'm on Eastern time zone. If you're in a different time zone, if you're in Central time, it's going to give you that same cutoff in your respective time zone. So if you're on PDT, if you're on Pacific Standard Time, that's going to say June 21st, 11:59. So because I'm on the East Coast, it feels like I have a little bit more time. So maybe if you're pressed for time, you might want to take a flight, get over here, get a couple extra hours. I'm just kidding. But just so you know, it is June 21st at 11:59. And so you want to make sure that you're applying to the right program. You also want to make sure that you're going to complete this registration process, and then you're going to get an email if you have not already done this process before. So these are for the newbies, that you have to create a registration process ahead of time first. And then it's going to ask you to complete the eligibility requirement. And then from there, this is when we'll now have access to the application page. And then you want to click on this, well, not click on the circle, but you want to pay attention to it. And I'm saying paying attention to it because when it is empty or blank looking, that means that there's no progress that has happened in the application portion of that process. So once it begins to turn green, or you start any portion of the application, you'll get like a half green circle that lets you know that you're in process. So you want to pay attention to that. You also want to just make sure that you still have your ABLE application example, it's going to ask you how many tasks have been completed. You can review it, you can submit it, you can even save it. So as you're going through, as I mentioned, you can save and come back to it. So you just want to make sure that that you're doing that. But this is the part that I wanted to make sure that I mentioned. One of the things that's different about this year's application is that we are asking for how much money did your companies generate in terms of revenue in the previous year. You can give us a flat number or you can give us a range. But this part is important. If you don't complete it, it won't allow you. If you don't fill in an HTTPS, a website, it won't allow you to move forward because it is a required question. So I wanted to let you know that you would just go to your respective states, Secretary of State website to click on the link to where your business is registered. Now, you may ask, well, what if my business isn't registered? Well, the deadline is June 21st. You have some time. But I'm just saying that one of the things that we have added as a layer of, I'm just going to say as another layer to the process of, and to also ensure the validity of the business, is to make sure that that business is registered with your respective Secretary of State. So wanted to make sure that I put that out there so that you're well aware of what the process is and what is required. Now, as we get to the close of completing your application, as I mentioned, you would want to look for this green circle and the check mark. So that means that all of our tasks are completed. Now, you may see something that says submit or that point. Once you hit the submit button, you can review it, but once you click the submit button, you'll be asked to confirm your submission. That's very key because you want to make sure that you are going to get this email. If you did not receive this email, your application, if you don't get this pop-up screen, if you don't get a confirmation email outside of this pop-up screen, so say for instance, you get this pop-up screen, this is my recommendation to everyone. You get this pop-up screen, screenshot it and just save it. I say this because if you get this pop-up, but you don't get an email me and I'll make sure that you get my information that says, hey, I got the application submitted, but I didn't get the confirmation email that said that my stuff was submitted on the back end. Then that means that there's a discrepancy somehow, somewhere. I need to take a look on the back end to make sure that your application was in fact submitted and not just completed and just sitting in the completed bucket, just waiting, just sitting looking pretty and perfect and ready for selection, and nobody knows. So make sure that, I would say, just screenshot it just for good measure. And then if you do not receive a confirmation email on the back end, go ahead and email me and I'll make sure that you're good to go. So from there, we are now in our tips to success. And remember, if you have any questions, I'm going through because I want us to get to the questions part where we can just rattle them off and we have time to just really talk about what those questions look like. So I just want to give some tips to success. Again, tell your story clearly in straightforward terms. Please try not to use industry terms. I know you guys are brilliant, but not everybody's in the same business. So what's going on in solar or in energy or even in tech and fintech, all of those fancy things that you guys know about, we may not know about. So just make sure that, I would say, a sixth grader could kind of understand what you're talking about. Be compelling. Share your value proposition. What makes your widgets better than these person's widgets? Is your wood better? Is your wood whittling better? Like, what makes you special? What's your secret sauce? Be sure to share that with us. Make sure your numbers add up, which I mentioned. Share your growth and potential to scale. If you've had any kind of pivoting since COVID, talk about that. That's one of the things that can show that make you special. Your ability to be resilient, to pivot, to create your business or transform an idea, pivot as necessary to stay relevant and to keep your doors open through a very trying time, shows not only the innovation for your company, but your ability to remain relevant and resilient and nimble. And that's important when people are looking at, well, how am I going to get my money back if XYZ happens? Well, these folks, know how to move and shake with whatever comes their way. So you want to make sure if that applies to you, tell us that story about how you were able to pivot during COVID. Pitch decks are not required, but they're helpful. So if you have one and it's a great place to start, so you're not starting from scratch when we get to that process in the program, go ahead, create one. I know Canva can help you make them. Those are free. If you don't already have one, I think Fiverr, you can pay somebody $5 maybe to help you get one together if you don't have one already. But there are resources out there. So if you don't have a pitch deck, I would recommend making sure that you have that as a part of your process, as a part of your application. If it's going to hold you up from applying, then don't worry about it. We want you to apply. We're not trying to give you anything that is going to hinder your process. We want to make sure that we're giving you all the tools that make you shine, and that can be one of those tools. And then last but not least, if you have any connection to the continent, any type of impact, let us know about how those dots connect. So that's really important as well. So I would say those are some tips to success. And let's get all of these questions up here. Okay, so where can I apply? The application portal, of which you'll see the link to that should be available shortly. If it's not somewhere, we'll make sure that you have it. You should already have it, but we'll make sure that you get it. You have to submit a pitch deck. We talked about that. It is not required, but it is encouraged. What are we looking for? For-profit businesses that are impact focused, generating revenue, and have the desire and capacity to grow. So also, how do I know if my application is submitted? Click the submit button. If you have not received an email, your application has not been submitted. So that means that send me an email so that we can get you taken care of. I applied last year, but what's up? What happened? I don't know, honestly, because I'm not the person that reviews the applications. So it could be anything. It could be your numbers didn't add up. It could be that there were so many other competitive applications that you just weren't in that cohort. So that's why I encourage people, because every year's pool looks different. So even though, and you have another year of history of storytelling of success to be able to share. So whereas maybe your application wasn't as competitive last year, this might be your year. So don't let this year pass you by without applying. We definitely want to know what kind of great impact you're making in your community and what kind of money you're making too. That's a part of it. We're not just, doing this for our health to make people feel good. Yes, that is a part of it, but we also want to make sure that we have a meal at the end of the day, right? And so how are applications selected? There's a third-party selection process. As I said, I'm not the one that reviews those applications. You will see myself and other team members that have introduced themselves on the call as a part of the interview process. But as a part of the reviewing process, there are other people that are part of our ecosystem, investors, academicians, business owners, high-level executives that are a part of the selection process that review these applications as a part of, as I said, of that ecosystem that allow us to make really good decisions about what each cohort looks like. So something to keep in mind. But what if I don't have a website? We've been doing all this business. A lot of it's word of mouth. We've been rocking and rolling for about 2 years. We've had massive growth. We started off at $20K a year. Right now we're at about $350K a year, and we've just never had to have a website. Well, I would say, do you have social media? Do you have a Facebook page? Do you have a LinkedIn? You can use that. If you do not have a website. So don't let that deter you. If you don't have any of those things, I would recommend at least creating one. It's like 5-10 minutes. And last but not least, this is where we make our plea for those folks that are like, you know what, after hearing all of this, yeah, I'm good. I don't want to apply, but I do want to be involved. How can I support? How can I help y'all help people? And so you can let people know that the application is out there. You can become a nominator. You can share information with folks about what we have going on. You can become a mentor, or you can maybe be a reviewer. I'm not sure, depending upon your interest. You can email me if you have additional questions, as I mentioned earlier, and that's also helpful if you've submitted your application, but it didn't go through. So make sure that you get that email. If not, I'm sure they can drop it in the chat if it hasn't been done so already. All right, so this is where you can take a screenshot. Miss Gloria Turner, that Miss Kathy mentioned, who is out, but you will hear her voice and see her face as a part of the SVEC process on that side. Once we kick off things, you'll see her at the kickoff. You'll see her at the learning sessions and things of that nature. So Miss Gloria, who is not here today, but that is her information if you have any specific questions about the actual program. And as I mentioned, if you're interested in becoming a mentor, you can pull out your phones, or if you wanted to be a reviewer, you can utilize those particular QR codes as you're seeing now. Take a screenshot, come back to it at some point, or share it with people at another time. And before we get to our Q&A, I want to give a super big shout out to our funders. Bill, as I mentioned earlier, Renee Lissert, who's been a super supporter for so long, since I want to say the exception of the program, right along with Maka Hakama Foundation, KLA Foundation, California Black Freedom Fund, the County of Santa Clara, Black Rock and Silicon Valley Community Foundation. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. As well as I mentioned, many others. Well, these are the others that are part of our ecosystem partners. Santa Clara University, I tip my hat continuously. It's a lovely relationship that I'm so excited that we get to continue. Every year gets better and better. So thank you to them and all of the many others that make this program possible, for even thinking of us and thinking of being a part of such an illustrious and really powerful community of change makers and impactors in your respective fields. I do hope that you all do take the time to complete the application. And if you are interested, or even if you're not, we're going to go ahead and send out this recording to you all so that you'll have an opportunity to review it as you are completing the application process. I want to thank Ms. Kathy again from Santa Clara University and SVEC. Thank our funders, Bill Makahama Foundation, and all the others that we mentioned. Of course, Almaz Nagash, we wouldn't be here without her, and the rest of the ADN and SVEC teams. And thank you all, because of course, without you, we definitely wouldn't be here. So have a great rest of your day on purpose, and continue to be phenomenal lights in whatever space that you are in. Don't dim it for anybody. Y'all keep shining. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.